Thank you. As you know, today was supposed to be our wedding day. Mary and I had planned for about 30 guests in the mountains, our happy place. I haven't seen her in her dress. She took a couple of pictures when she got it fitted for the final time about a month ago. And I've asked those that have them to let me see them before I go to the chapel today, because we have her dress there and I haven't seen it yet. I want to see Mary in it before I see it. But today is not supposed to be a sad day. Mary wouldn't want us sitting around and crying all day. Those of you that knew her knew that she was a joy. Her emotions were very obvious at all times of day. Turn it up. It didn't matter whether she was happy, sad, or angry. You knew which one she was. She was very vocal about it. Plus, she had no poker face. But 9 times out of 10, when you saw Mary, she wasn't falling over on the lawn. She had a smile on her face. And honestly, she'd probably be laughing her ass off right now. She wouldn't want us sitting around and crying, because that's not the type of person she was. She faced life's challenges head on. She faced everything head on. When Mary was upset with me, she would sit down and have a conversation. She wasn't the type of person to hold things inside and keep them bottled up. I was, when she and I first met. Now, I've said this before, but Mary taught me how to be a better man. Not made me want to be a better man, although that's true. She taught me. She taught me, amongst many things, that being in touch with my emotions and learning about them did not make me a weaker man. It made me a better man. I learned from her every day. When I was mad at her, which didn't happen very often, to be fair. She was mad at me a lot more often. But when I was mad at her, she would ask me if I was ready to tell her about it. And if I wasn't, she gave me the space. And I learned to do the same thing for her. And because of it, we were a stronger couple. We had a better relationship. Mary was that way with everybody. Ask any of the patients from Triangle CRC who are here today, and they'll tell you that they always saw her with a smile on their face, or on her face. They always heard her cackling. When Mary laughed, you couldn't miss it. You heard it on the other side of the house. And her laugh was infectious. It made everybody else laugh too. She was one of the best people I have ever met in my life. And for the rest of my life, I intend to live up to her having chosen me. I didn't think I deserved her. I still don't think I deserved her. But for the 2.5 years that I had her, it was the best 2.5 years of my life. And I'll never forget her. There's a lot more that I could say, but at this point it would probably turn mostly into rambling. So instead, I'm going to introduce Lindsay Muma from Triangle CRC. Mary's employer, not boss. Mary would get in trouble when she said Lindsay was the boss.
I'm not as tall as Rob. How am I doing? A little lower? Oh. That's a lot of wind. Okay. That's a lot of wind, isn't it? Is that better? We in a happy place? Okay. Should I just hold it? There's so much wind. Ladies and gentlemen, Allison's here to save the day. Allison Wright. It's like blowing directly into the microphone. Thank you. Sorry.
Told you we're winging it.
Good? Am I good? I want her to call for me down the hall, Mistress. Not a question, not a command, just a statement of the nickname she gave me shortly after coming into my life almost exactly 3 years ago, when she called me boss, and I told her I wasn't her boss. She was the boss of her, and I was merely her employer. So she switched to calling me Mistress, or Linz. I heard her refer to me as Lindsay just a few weeks ago, and it sounded strange coming from her, and I told her so. Mary started work on October 21st, 2019, with an 8-hour insurance training, straight into the deep end with no training because I'd had to fire her predecessor, and the now go-to person for our new endeavor of accepting insurance. She had no direct experience except for having worked in a dentist's office, but she was very clearly the right person for the job and for the office and for our Triangle CRC family. I want to hear her boisterously call me Leslie Mamba in her pseudo-announcer's voice, which was only slightly louder than her never an inside voice. I want to see her give me the peace sign while she calls Toodles Poodles, followed by Stay Fresh Cheese Bags as I leave the office. I want to hear her cackle and then chuckle and then cackle again as she relays a story. Any story. I want to hear her freak the hell out because a spider is in her vicinity, and then thank me for saving her life if I've killed it or moved it away, and then promptly tell me that we need to either burn the building down or move out. I want to hear her cuss like a sailor and then immediately turn on her professional phone voice and politely answer the phone to represent my company that she lived, breathed, and grew for 3 years as she grew right alongside it. The place she brought her new boyfriend for a lunch date, where she set up twinkle lights and blankets and used the projector for a date night movie night when he'd become her fiancé. The place where she brought her soon-to-be stepdaughter, whom Mary just called my kid when Bridget was off school. The place where she shipped all 38 of Rob's birthday presents this year so she could keep them hidden, detailing each gift for us and showing off the ones she was most proud of. The place where her work friends just became friends, who became family, that joined her friend family in order to celebrate her upcoming nuptials at her super fun bachelorette party. The place where she did her first cold plunge, took her first juice keys shot, stepped into her first managerial role, then evolved to be the bomb, a title she loved almost as much as her Parker Vegas registration title of Dr. Mary Marshall. But she was most looking forward to the title of being a steal. She was so proud of her fiancé and loved him immeasurably. She never thought she would have kids, though she loved being an aunt, and felt completely unqualified to parent her stepkids, but as stated, she already called Bridget and Toby hers, even if they weren't getting along. If you were Mary's people, you were her people, and she was fierce and protective of you. She couldn't wait to tell us that Bridget had told Rob that she was a good one, and I cried as she did. Her kids meant so much to her. I want to see my husband, whom she lovingly referred to as Danny Munn, and would chuckle each time she said it, hand me the phone because Mary called him when she couldn't get a hold of me. But sometimes she just called him to see if he could build us something for the office, or to talk about the reindeer from tree logs he gave her as a Christmas present last year because she couldn't handle its cuteness, or the wooden mountain scene he made that now hangs in her living room next to artwork appropriately declaring I was not made to be subtle. But mostly she called him to find me. She knew not to catastrophize work-related issues except spiders, when she actually needed my backup or say-so, and she never unnecessarily interrupted my home time. We know all about work-life balance at Triangle CRC. You balance work with entirely too many personal details of your home life: sex, bowel movements, sleepovers with optional nudity, annoyances with life, and joyous occasions. The culture of our office is such that it's okay to mentally check out for a meeting. Just tell us you're red for color check-in at the beginning. We get a lot done in our meetings when most of us are green, but we're also jerks enough that Mackenzie usually picks a hard-to-write color like chartreuse for Mary to put in our meeting notes. She would curse just about every time. But she would also remind you that if you're red, you could probably take the rest of the day off. We all remind each other when it's time to go home. Like I did on Thursday, October 13th, when it was 4:28, and she just finished walking our student shadow for the week through her first plunge experience. She was supposed to leave at 4. I started to feel guilty that if I'd not said to go home, or if I'd not asked her to record the plunge with Maddie on my phone, would she still be here? And then I quickly realized that this was my minuscule version of life that I see through my current soul state contained within a mortal body. Do you hear what I've said this whole time? I want, I miss, I. Selfishly, I want her here. I need her physical presence. I don't know how to run my office without her. But as she has shown us through countless hawks and eagles, miraculous butterflies, and the appearance of unicorns, she's free and fierce and untethered to our tiny mortal existence. To want her here is to take that freedom from her, and as much as I do want her here with us, I accept her transition from a body that contained her powerful soul to a free soul that exists in every place and is with us always. Above us, only sky. Stay fresh, cheese bag. I love you, madam. And now I'd like to introduce Dr. Mackenzie Smith, who today was going to be officiating Mary and Rob's ceremony.
Everyone hear me okay? Yeah? Luckily, Leslie, Moomba, and I are the same height, so we don't have to switch anything up. Mary was the only person who would ask me to officiate her wedding while also giving me full enthusiastic permission to do it barefoot. So I think it's only fair that I come up here and speak sans shoes. In fact, I should have been barefoot all day because I tripped over my shoes just now, and I have a hole in my pants as a result. So that was something Mary probably would have gotten a kick out of. And she probably is laughing right now as we speak. I was going through my old messages with Mary earlier this week. I stumbled upon a message from earlier this year. She had, in my mind, sent me a random song out of the blue. It was the song Don't Let Me Down by the Chainsmokers. Most of you are probably familiar with the song, but if you aren't, the title pretty much sums up the entire song. I remember that when I saw this message initially, I didn't understand why she was sending it to me. Of course I know that song, Mary, it's a good one. But when I saw it again this week, it all seemed to make sense. And that was Mary. She would send you something completely off topic and random, but when you looked back, it always made sense. Mary always made sense. I pushed writing this to the very last minute, as everyone at the office knows. I was still doing final touches on it moments before coming up here to speak today. I told myself it was because I didn't want to face the fact that instead of officiating a wedding for two people who absolutely adored and loved each other, we are celebrating Mary's life. That is all true, but what is also true is that I'm stellar at procrastinating things until the very last minute. Something her and Rob knew oh too well when they consistently reminded me for months that I needed to get ordained if I wanted to actually marry them. Mary would know that I was just keeping up my end of the bargain and leaving things to the very last minute. Don't worry, Mary, I didn't let you down. Mary was, and still is, a beacon of light all around us. Whether she was screaming from a spider or cackling because she successfully scared someone, Mary did everything with gusto. So, I leave you with this today. Don't let Mary down. When you're sad, cry. When you're happy or excited, do your best to Mary cackle. And when you need to give it to someone straight, do so with the boldness that only Mary could pull off. Mary, I know you're around us in everything we do, and I know you're making sure we continue to find the brightness and joy in all the little things. Don't worry, Mary, we won't let you down. Thank you. And next is going to be Megan, Mary's sister.
Yeah, I don't like this at all. So mom and dad can't talk. I'm gonna try and do this. As a family, we wanted to thank everybody first and foremost for Cedric, for your thoughts and your prayers and the flowers and the food and the text and the calls and everything. It's been completely overwhelming. And I have a whole speech, but I don't know how I'm going to do this. I know Rob cursed, and it's only fitting that I do. So hang in there with me. So Mary was my favorite pain in the ass. Anybody who's had a sibling knows exactly how this feels. She was the annoying little sister who my parents so clearly loved more. Everybody will tell you that. And it wasn't until I got older and realized that she really wasn't the sweet, innocent child that she appeared to be. She was just way better at hiding it than I was. So like any good sibling, as I got older and was able to buy things like cigarettes and alcohol, I would do that. Maybe get her a little drunk, maybe, and then promptly call my parents and tell them. It's just a little payback. And then one day, she came home and said she joined the Navy. No discussion about it, no thoughts, no just, hey, I did this, and this is what's going to happen. And I think, all right, now I'm going to cry. I think that was when she went from my little annoying sister to someone that I could look up to. Because she was, as Rob said, very determined. She was very stubborn when she made her mind up, and there was no changing her mind. My child's trying to come to the stage. Sorry. So after her 4 years, when she came home, she said, I'm going to go to school for pastry and baking. And I think we all told her, cool, you're not going to make any money and you're going to live at home for the rest of your life. But she didn't care. She knew what she wanted. She knew what she loved. She knew what her passion was. And when that happened, she became my hero. To say, I don't care if I can't make a living. I don't care if it's the right decision. It's what I love and what I want to do. That takes a lot of bravery. And I think we could all take a little bit of that from her. She was what this world needed. She was so good. I mean, you know that if you know her. She was always telling me, what concert are we going to next? Taylor Swift is playing here, let's go. So I'm kind of pissed that she's not here to go see Taylor Swift next year with me. I was looking forward to seeing her be the cool aunt to my girls. Get them their first tattoos after I said not to. Buy them their first drink and then not tell me about it because she didn't want to be like me and get them in trouble. And it was just, I'm going to miss those things. And I don't know Rob that well, COVID, but you could just see it in her face. She was happy. She was finally at a place where she felt good about life, her job, her friendships. She just, if you've been there, you know the last several years sucked for her. She had a tough transition, moved around a lot, but she was happy, and I don't think anybody could ask for anything else. I got a bunch of really sad stuff here, and I can't say it. But like Rob said, she wouldn't want us to be sad for too long. She'd tell you to take today, get it out, move on. She wanted you to live your life and to love it. I've got a sentence here that says she jumped out of a plane for fun, and I don't really know what that means anymore. But I think, for me, I'm going to take her braveness and her love for life, and I'm going to live happy and bold and loud and full of laughter and love with all these people that are crying, and now I'm crying again. So I'm okay. I think I'm done. I don't know if anybody else wanted to speak. I'm much better at this at work. I'm not very good right now, but We do. We seriously we can't thank you enough. I'm 7 months pregnant. I'm sorry. So if anybody else wanted to speak, friends, family, I know she had several people in from out of state. The stage is yours. Holy crap. Wow.
We're going to leave the microphone on for about 20 minutes. Anybody who wants to come up and say anything, please feel free. If there's nobody at the microphone, then at that point, feel free to get up and mingle. Like I said, tell stories about Mary. Laugh, tell jokes. Try to keep the inappropriate ones that Mary would tell away from the cameras. We don't need those on the news, all right?
Hi, I just wanted to introduce myself. My name's Alicia Perry, and
Lisa Koski.
we served in the military with Mary Marshall. And I don't think I've ever said Mary's name without just saying her whole name every time, even if it took me 20 minutes to have the conversation. It's Mary Marshall. Mary Marshall. And it's just one of those names that will always just trigger the laugh. And I recently was at home with my babies, and I said Mary Marshall, and both of my little babies, their heads spun around, and they started smiling at me, and they knew exactly what I was talking about and why I was smiling. They could hear the laugh, or the cackle, the laugh. But I just wanted to come up here. Sorry, I flew all day yesterday. I'm a little tired, but I met Mary in the Navy, and we were stationed in Japan. That's where all of us met. And one of the very first things that I noticed, before I could remember anybody's names, but this girl, she was the boss. I mean, she wasn't really the boss, but she was the boss. She knew everything. She knew where everything was. She found me like 10 times lost on a ship and redirected me. She was so smart and so helpful, and everybody just loved having her around. I'm going to say that she was a pain in the ass to anybody that was that was in charge of her, because she usually knew more than them, and that was frustrating for them. And we loved it because we were like, yes, Mary can always get one for us, But not only was she a pleasure to serve with, and incredibly talented and smart and skilled in her job, but that woman, she is integrity. She always did the right thing, no matter what, no matter who it upset, no matter what effects it made. She really did. She had so much honor, and not just honor to serve, but honor for herself. She honored herself. She honored all the things that were important to the world, all the good things. She did what was right. I don't have enough fingers and toes to tell you how many times she was mad at me, because I had a lot more lessons to learn, and luckily I had Mary to help guide me, even through new motherhood, being a wife. I struggled, and she just always knew she knew grace, and she showed me grace and taught me things, and everyone else around her just how to appreciate life and really what's important and what's not. Are you happy? Okay, then great. Are you not happy? Then try something else. It doesn't change anything. And I just missed her. I just miss her. I miss her. I haven't seen her in a long time. And unfortunately, this is my first trip to this really beautiful green state, and I feel a little guilty that I've never been here before since she is so wonderful and always visited me. But I'm here, and I'm really happy to hear all the stories from everybody talking about her, because I feel like life happens and children happen and new jobs happen, and I missed a lot, so yeah. Thank you.
Hi everyone. It's super intimidating for me to be up here in front of all of you because, like Alicia, I'm not from North Carolina, and everybody seems very close knit. But I've heard a lot about all of you from Mary. Like Alicia, we were in the Navy together, and I just wanted to say that I'm so sad that I can't participate in her wedding. She was looking forward to this for so long, and it's honestly still a shock for me. But I just wanted to let you all know that Mary was a safe space for me. I was very wayward when I met her in boot camp. We were nothing alike. She was so serious, so on top of everything, so determined, and I was 19, didn't know anything, constantly getting in trouble, but Mary took care of me. She took care of me throughout my entire naval career until she got out. And well, I just wanted to be here, with you all, and say that she was a great person, and I'm gonna miss her a lot. Thank you.
I'm going to be honest, I didn't prepare anything, so I apologize. I have ADD as well, so this could take a minute. Mary motherfucking Marshall, or should I say Steele, she was your wife in all the ways that mattered. Mary and I didn't have to be friends. We didn't have to have a relationship after our trip to Colorado, where I drove my RV so that she and Tracy could have somewhere to sleep when they went to her cousin's wedding. I'd maybe met Mary once before that. It was probably one of the best trips of my life. We had a blast driving around Colorado. Literally driving around Colorado, Boulder to Denver, and just everywhere. Mary was always so logical, well thought out. I think everyone's kind of covered that. I'm honored to be one of the few people who has seen her emotional, because I know that wasn't something that she was often, and I am honored to be one of the people that could talk her through that. She also made me a better friend. She is the reason I stop and think, could there be another opinion than mine? Could there be another perspective? Yeah. We didn't have to be friends. I don't know that I had a choice in the matter, but not that I would have chosen any different. She would just randomly FaceTime me and call me for just no reason. We'd just be both laying in bed. I'm like, what are you doing? Laying in bed? What are you doing? Laying in bed? Cool. Want to talk about anything? No. Just talking. Just here. I don't know. I'm going to bore you guys. I'm going to ramble. I'm honored to have thrown that super awesome bachelorette because it was Halloween themed. That was great. Mary loved Halloween. Obviously, most of you probably know that. I'm glad that she chose me as a friend, and that she picked me to be one of her people. Yeah, she was selective, and I am glad that through her I've been able to meet her other people and build those relationships. I hate that it kind of happened this way. Also, some of you I still haven't met, and that's really important to her. She was really excited to have us all together, so I'm going to need you to come find me. I don't even know what you look like.
Or who you might be.
Or who you might be. Honestly. She wanted a picture of all 6 of us together. Her 6 best friends. It's what she wanted. So I'd like to make that happen today as well. I'm good. Toodles.
I also was not planning to speak today. My grandfather said that I have a way with words, and so we could all probably still be sitting here at dinner time tonight. No. I have the power now. I met Mary in culinary school, and when we were just getting to know each other, talking about our backgrounds and where we are. Pardon me, those Kleenex are rather important right now. She mentioned she had been in the Navy, and I thought, well, that's great because I speak fluent sailor, so we'll get along perfectly. With a construction dialect. I'm gonna read my Facebook posting from her birthday because I really feel like this sums up who Mary was to me and maybe to some of you as well. She was beautiful, but not like the magazines. She was beautiful for the way she thought. She was beautiful for the sparkle in her eyes when she talked about something that she loved. Most recently, Rob. She was beautiful for her ability to make other people smile, even if she was sad. That was one of the things I admired about her because she would always try to make sure that you were good, even if she was feeling sad. No, she wasn't beautiful for something as temporary as her looks. She was beautiful deep down to her soul. I went on to say, happy birthday, Mary Marshall, because we always called each other by our first and last names. There was it was not, hey, Trace, how you doing? It was, Tracy Sherman, what are you doing? And I would say the same thing. And my mom commented one time and said, why do you have to say her last name? You can just call her Mary. I'm like, no, because she's not just Mary. Mary is a common name, and there was nothing common about Mary. She attacked things full force. I'm sure you've all seen the Tasmanian Devil. That was kind of like Mary at times. These cat ears are for her. During our trip to Denver, she wore a pair almost constantly. We, sorry mom, went to a dispensary when we were in Colorado and ate edibles, and for the next 5 hours Mary kept saying, is my tongue still blue? To which I had to say, yes, I just told you that 5 minutes ago. We argued about football. She was a diehard Patriots fan. Why? I don't know.
Go Seahawks.
Go Broncos. So many times she would get off work and just call me up and say, what are you doing, bitch? And I'm like, nothing. And she's like, all right, I'm in your driveway. I'm like, okay. Good thing my boyfriend wasn't home at the time. Halloween was by far our favorite holiday. One of the many, many things that we had in common. Last year I had a party at mine and Jason's new house, and Mary came with Rob, and they were dressed as an old couple. And Allison came dressed as Chucky, and I was a vampire. So when it got time to take the picture of the three of us, naturally, crazy over here decided I'm Chucky, I need to have a knife. And since Mary and I went to culinary school, obviously I have lots of knives in my kitchen. And she couldn't just use a fake knife, because I had lots of those too for Halloween. No, she had to actually grab my chef's knife and So Mary and I are in the front, and Allison is standing behind, and I'm like, I sure hope this doesn't go south. But that's the kind of goofy that we were when the three of us were together. Lots of shenanigans. Halloween's going to be really hard this year, so I'm boycotting it. I usually, for the last 4 years, have won our costume contest at work, and I canceled it this year, the whole contest. And I told everybody I'm still the champion until next year, when I will win again. I hope next year I'm feeling a bit more festive for Mary. Mary's friends weren't just her friends. We were her family. I have known Mary now for 9+ years. She was the little sister that I wished I would have had. Sorry again, Mom. And I don't know how, but I feel her with me every day. I feel her giving me the strength to stand up here right now and talk to you about her. I wish, if you didn't know her, I wish you would have been able to meet her. She made colors brighter. She made food taste better. And she was always a light that shone down in the darkness. My boyfriend said it best in a Facebook comment that I'm not sure he knew that I saw. But he said, remember to hug your loved ones a little longer and a little tighter. I added the part, our lives truly are like hourglasses, and you never know when the last grain will fall. Mary Marshall, until we meet again, I love you, my dear friend, and I will think of you always.
I feel like I'm gonna trip and fall flat on my face on these stairs when I go down. So that's, if I do, Mary, I will absolutely be hearing your cackle in my head. My name is Liz, and Mary was the first friend I made when I moved here in 2001. A girl in our creative writing class was being snotty to me. I don't even remember why or what she was saying, but Mary immediately just turned around and told her off. I don't remember all of it, but I know the very tail end of it was, okay, so just... And then she turns and looks at me and says, "Hi, I'm Mary." And that's how you became friends with Mary. She just introduced herself, and not that you would want to, but there was no getting rid of her. Everyone's been talking about just the energy, and you never had to guess what Mary was thinking. She was going to tell you what you were thinking. That's, every time I think of her, I remember that moment. And if you were being a jerk for no reason, Mary was going to tell you. And I've always appreciated that about her. We were in 8th grade at that time, so when you're that close with someone during your formative years, you still carry parts of them with you, even 20 years later. And all of the parts of Mary that I still have with me, I will always appreciate. Because those are some of my favorite parts of myself, because they were some of my favorite parts of Mary. Her cackling laugh is legendary amongst anyone who knew her. My favorite version of that was the singular startled cackle, where she wasn't expecting something to be particularly funny, and then it was, and you could hear her laugh on the other side of the house. You could hear that single cackle damn near on the other side of Clayton High School. And even if you weren't there when it happened, you would hear it and think to yourself, oh, this story is going to be so good later when we're out of school today. And that's just always who Mary was. She was just bright and loud and always there and unavoidable, and that was why she was so great. She's the only person I know who loved Bring It On, one of the worst movies ever, as much as I do. I was telling my boyfriend the other day about how one day, out of the blue, she called me because Megan had quoted something. Said, "Don't you guys fret, okay?" And they couldn't remember what it was from, and called me because if they can't figure it out, then I must know. And I think about 30 minutes later, I just called her up and went, "Bring it on." And then I could hear her go, "Oh my God!" And turned to Megan, and I just hung up. I was like, they got this now. I know, objectively, I know that Mary wouldn't want us crying about her. She would, but in honor of Mary, I'm gonna cry anyway, bitch, because I love you. And I know that she is flipping that bird right back and calling me something worse. Even friends grow and drift apart, and we had drifted apart, but I know that she, at her core, was always that girl standing up for this random new kid. And I know that she brought that kind of love and courage with her in every moment of her life. And I don't doubt for a second that part of, at least a teensy part of the reason she joined the Navy is so that she can fully, officially say that she swears like a sailor. So, we love you, Mary, and we miss you. And I wouldn't be who I am today if I hadn't known her. And honestly, it was that kind of friendship where we got each other through middle school and high school, at least in some parts. And I will just always treasure every single memory that I have with her. Wish me luck on not face planting.
Okay, I'm Betty, and I'm Rob's friend. We've worked together the last 7 months, and I wanted just to share some of the memories that I know about Mary and Rob in the last time period. This was a much look forward to wedding, and the planning that went into it, and when Mary would call and talk with Rob, and they would discuss the wedding dress or what arrived, and I've got your ring, and Rob was getting ready to get his suit tailored, and the interaction between these two. They were already married. They enjoyed each other, they loved each other, they respected each other. And the comments between the two of them, Mary was looking very forward to being a mom, felt she already was a mom, and there were many conversations of, what are we going to do about this? What do you want to do about this? And Rob was always so patient and say, why don't we talk about it when I get home? And so yes, don't grieve. These two had 2.5 years together, in essence, as a married couple, and many married couples don't even get that. So smile when you think about Mary, and this is a wedding day. Even though it didn't happen, it's been there for 2.5 years. That would have just been the celebration of it. So just keep that in mind, that the two of these two people, this is not fair. They should have been together. And I guess that's about it. I just want you to remember that they had a long time of being together and loving each other. Thank you.
Oh wow, it's a lot more intimidating standing up here than being in the crowd. My name's Jen, and I met Mary almost 10 years ago. I knew her from Starbucks. I worked at Crabtree. And I can't tell you the exact day that I met Mary, because she was just there. I always remembered sitting outside smoking a cigarette, and it's the old Starbucks location at Crabtree. And she'd bust out that door and she said, "Sup, bitches?" And that was Mary. And I think my fondest memory of Mary was when she was there for me in one of my darkest days. I won't go into too much detail, but she taught me how to take the bull by the horns and not be the shy person that I once was. Mary had a strength to her, and it was infectious. She taught me so much about myself that I didn't even know I needed to learn. Almost 10 years ago, I was very meek, shy, and I think Mary just brought it out of me. She was this fierce, loyal, and sassy woman. And I remember one day, I was having a particularly hard day, and I was crying. And she looked at me, and she said, "Are you happy?" I said, "What do you mean? Of course I'm happy." And she goes, "No. Are you happy?" And that resonates with me, because I knew the answer was no. I wasn't. And then she said, "What are you going to do about it?" More along the lines of, fucking do something about it. So if you ever have a moment where you question your happiness, channel your inner Mary and ask, what are you going to do about it? And anytime you come across a spider, channel your inner Mary. Burn the house down. Thank you guys so much.
All right, can you all hear me? No? Up? Better? Okay. My name is Liz. I've been a patient at Triangle CRC since 2019, and I think one of my favorite Mary quotes is, I would always compliment her on her amazing eyeshadow that she would do. She always was known for her makeup, and I would come to the office and ask her, "When do you get here?" And she's like, "Oh, like 6 or 7. I'm like, "And you wake up and do your makeup like that every morning?" She's like, "Well, you can feel like shit and you can look like shit, but you can't be both." So I take that with me all the time, and I tell that to people, even this past week. When I'm at school, and because I'm a teacher, and as you know, being a teacher's tough, and so they'll compliment me, and I'm like, "Oh, well, you know, as my friend Mary once said, you can look like shit or you can feel like shit, but you can't be both." And so that quote goes with me everywhere, and that's one way I'll remember Mary. But I would say that to capture Mary's essence and character and love and who she is, every time I would go to the office, I was known for sticking around for like 30 minutes after my appointment time just to talk with Mary. And I would get to the point where I'd be like, "Okay, I should probably let you get back to work, Mary." But she was just always so giving of her time to make me, one of many patients at the office, feel loved by the care that she shared and the listening ear that she had. And I'll miss calling her. Of course, now we've switched to Ashley being the main person to go with appointments, but when Mary used to do that, I would always, I would call the office and she would pick up and I'd say, Mary, and I would say, I miss you, and she would be like, yes, Liz. And so you could just tell by the way that she cared for the patients at the office that even though I wasn't with her every day, she still cared and loved about every single patient. So I will miss her and I will carry her with me. And Rob and Mary's family, I'm praying for you and pray that God would be near you in this time and that you would just feel very close and be, I know this is a tough time, but like you said, Mary would want us to laugh and we can still cry through the tears. So thank you.
A little too talkish. My name is Jorge, and I don't think there was a cuss word that Mary didn't know. I don't cuss, but man, I think she showed me how to cuss. She was easy to annoy, and I met her in culinary school, and we had lots of classes together because she was there for baking and so was I, and I remember one time we had a table outside of the kitchen, and she was working at Starbucks and going to school full time, and I was sort of a pest to her, and I loved to annoy her because I loved seeing how angry she would get, and she would always curse me out. And the only thing I remember her saying is, Jorge, shut the F up. And I loved that, and I loved annoying her. So we would sit out there during break times in between classes, and she would just complain and say, you don't understand, I'm going to school full time, and I'm working, school is kicking my ass. And while she was trying to work, I would just sit there and just try to talk to her, annoy her, and bother her, and be a pest to her. And she would just curse me out, and I loved it. And it was just so funny. I loved seeing her get angry. And but she was such a great friend. She would put me on track because I was a goofball in school. I was always fooling around, and she would always tell me, Jorge, you're not gonna graduate. You need to stop and do your work and leave me the hell alone. And I remember my fondest memory of her is when we were finally graduating. She thought she wasn't going to. She thought she was not going to make it because of how hectic her school schedule was and how hectic her work schedule was. And I was right behind her, or in front of her, in the graduation line. And I was so happy. I was excited too, and I couldn't believe it. And I just kept tapping her, Mary, we made it, Mary, we made it, Mary, we're here. And she was just quiet, quiet. And I kept doing it as we were walking, Mary, we made it. And she just turned around and said, Jorge, if you don't shut the F up, I know we made it. Now stop. And she was so excited that she had finally graduated. I will miss her forever and always. And to her family, we're praying for you guys. And she was just a beautiful spirit that was just loud, annoying, and she was just free. You knew what she was thinking. She didn't hold anything back. She always spoke her mind, and that's one of the things that I loved about her, is she always told me things straight. One day she just cussed me out and used every curse word available, and I always remember that about her.
Went a little bit longer than I thought we were going to with the open mic time, but I want to say thank you for everybody who came up and shared her memories. I only had her for 2.5 years, but collectively I think everybody in this room or in this field has had her probably over a few hundred, and that's a lot of memories. So please take the time, get up and talk to each other, tell each other about her. Share those memories. The more of them we share, the more of them we can all enjoy.